The nose is a very weird area to draw since there isn't any reference line to actually draw on, since there isn't any line due to the fact that the nose is round and smooth. So the first step would be to make our own lines based on the anatomy, based on the basic anatomy of the nose. So to start off, I'm going to draw four lines, two lines which would represent the side of the nose, and the other two for the nostrils. To help visualize the nose, I will draw a circle in the middle for a reference for the lighting. This will help shading towards this circle in the middle of the nose will help with shading. Now that I have all four lines and the circle drawn out, I'm going to start shading. Now, from my reference photo, I can see that the light source is coming from the left side, so most of the shadows would be on the right side. So based on that circular shape in the middle of the nose, I will start shading the halftones on the right side of that circle. And shading accordingly with the circle will help to create the circular effect and also the smoothness of the nose. While shading my halftones, I was shading without any care, so it was very messy, but that is completely fine. So now that I have a rough idea of what the actual nose would look like, now I'll move on to adding the shadow under the nostrils or inside the nostrils. So the nostrils will obviously be the darkest since no light will be entering. And under the nostrils, there will be some shadow, especially on the right side. You really have to be careful with how you're shading and the shadows and the tone you're adding, because if you don't add the tones correctly, it's not gonna have that sense of realism and it's not gonna look like what you want it to look like. So, in order to make sure that the shadows are neat and they look real, to make them look real, you really need to look at the reference photo and look very closely at the shadows and how it is formed. Right now, I'm working on the left side, and on the left side, the shadows aren't as significant as it is on the right side. So what I would do to make sure that the shadows aren't as harsh as the right side is that I will apply less pressure on the pen uh, and using lighter pens. So for example, on the right side, I might be using a 4B pencil or 8B pencil. Like under the nostrils, I would definitely use an 8B pencil. But on the left side, where the shadows aren't as harsh, I would definitely use something much lighter, maybe like a 2B pencil. Now, don't worry if you feel like the first time you're going over the shadows and you feel like it's too light or too dark, it is totally fine. Now, if you feel like the shadows are too light, you can definitely go over it again and make sure that you apply more pressure on the pen so that more graphite is left on the paper. And if you feel like it's too dark, don't worry, there are two really reliable solutions. One would be to draw everything darker, which I probably will not recommend. And the second one is just to erase it and draw it again. Or if you have something like a kneadable eraser, you can shape the eraser however you want, and you can take out portions of the shadow which you think it's too light for the thing you're drawing. So in this case, I realized that the left side of the nose might have been too light. So I went ahead, took my electric eraser, and just kind of went over everything. Okay, so now that I feel like my shadows are completely fine and they look alright and it has a sense of realism, I can go back and just add a bit more contrast and tone to the drawing to make it look even more realistic. So I can see now that the right side could have been too light, and some parts under the nostrils could have been too light, even on the left side. So I decided to go over it again. So now my nose is complete. You can take a blending stump and blend everything together if you feel like.